All right. Hello, everyone. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bonjour and comment ça va for our Quebec and our French-speaking folks on the call here. On behalf of Liteline, just want to say, we hope everyone's doing well. And as we move into the first official week of summer coming up here, everyone's excited for that. My name is Steve McMullen. I'm the National Sales Manager of Canada for Liteline, and I have the privilege today of presenting our first official open product update, product launch, product, whatever you want to call it, webinar. So we have these happening every month. Last Friday of every month, we're going to have a special session, kind of in conjunction with our regular education series. But every last Friday of every month, we're going to have a product update, and that could include something new as a launch. It could include maybe an update or anything that's just pertaining to any one of our products. So I'd encourage you to just stay in the loop, watch for the marketing emails, and if all else fails, just check the website. We have right on the homepage, right when you jump on liteline.com, you'll see all of the upcoming webinars, and this is one of them. So today we're going to talk about a couple of updates, mostly focused around an update to the Helios program, as well as an addition to Luna. And it's not going to be a long session. We're just going to quickly do some recap on both of those products within that category, and then we'll just jump into some of the new features and what is new to the particular product. And at the end, if we've got some time, I do have some samples that we can work with. So to get it started, quick recap on Helios. This is always my favorite part. This video is great. That's a great video to use, for anyone that's interested in Helios. It's a quick link. It's on our YouTube page. You can find it and send it. It's just a nice little overview, kind of showing the flexibility and the features of Helios. But it's also very important to understand Helios is a pretty intricate type of luminaire, right? It kind of goes beyond what you typically assume to find with most types of downlight solutions. But the first thing is to understand there's ultimately three parts, right? You've got a collar and a carrier, and that acts as your full mechanical control assembly. You've got your engine and your light compartment or your optical compartment, and then you've got your trim, which is your optical control. So really, ultimately, you've got three parts that make up this assembly and really give it its magic. Biggest thing to understand, though, about Helios, it's about precision, right? This product isn't designed to be the thing to produce the most amount of light, or you want to have the best aesthetic. It's got a great clean aesthetic, and it's very uniform in its application, but there's other products that are going to speak to some of those niche requirements. Helios, about precision, right? So it's taking the light that's needed and putting that light where it's needed. That's the biggest thing. So one of the benefits we have here that really sets it aside from other products in its class, and definitely from our offering in the downlight space, is just its mechanical flexibility. Right, you'll notice in the picture here, or for those that have seen the product or have had their hands on the samples, there's gradients for every setting. This allows you to have those set points to position this exactly where you would need it. So you've got a tilt gradient up to 30 degrees. You've got full 365-degree rotational measurements to work off of. And a nice little feature to assist with zero cutoff is your drift. The drift setting is that middle sort of note you'd see up to 6 millimeters. So when you talk about tilt, that's kind of the biggest thing, because a lot of luminaires, when you get into a tilting application, you experience cutoff, right? It's just it's the mechanics of it, right? You've typically got a tilt axis or something that's going to allow the component to move, and then it's going to catch an angle or catch an edge. Helios is really cool because as it tilts over, it lines itself up so that there's very little cutoff. And in the event that you do have some at that 30-degree setting, that tilt, or that drift allows us to move it over to give no cutoff at angle, which is a really, really cool feature. You can couple that together with an optical bending lens to truly push that light and go beyond that 40 degree, or that 45. One of the other real key features is that it's subceiling controlled, right? So every feature here, the mechanical flexibility of this, can be done from below the ceiling, right? So we could set a lot of our points and our precision before it goes in. It is spring loaded on the engine so that when it goes through the cut hole, it's going to land back to its set position for tilt. But your rotation is possible to do from below the ceiling, and your drift, right? So if we need to make minor adjustments, or if we need to make a major change on it, maybe the layout of the space has changed, you can do that quite easily from below the ceiling. So again, just really keep in mind it's a precision tool, and as we talk about the update to the program, it's going to give us a couple other needed benefits to just work for more spaces. One of the other advantages in its mechanics is the ability to provide different settings of regress. So the engine itself runs on a slider, and it's got 3 set points that you can physically move it into. So you've got more of a forward setting, position 1, you can push it up to position 2, and then the deepest position of position 3. So what you're seeing here on the screen is the Helios 2, and we'll talk about the Helios 3 coming up, but it just gives further flexibility. You know, what do we need in the space? And with all of that, you're not compromising your look, right? So if you've got a type of trim that's been selected or specified, you can keep that uniform feel in a ceiling while manipulating the light from above. And that's the feature. That's really where Helios sets itself aside. FT6 cabling, air handling spaces, that's very, very common across all of our downlight products now. We talked about the positions of adjustment for regression, and the optical compartment has the ability to house 2 media, right? So you could have some type of solite lens or diffusing lens, as well as a honeycomb move or something else in there. All of that's available on the build sheets or on the spec sheets. Trims. Trimless with Helios is true trimless. We can do it, right? And when we think of what that looks like, it's a clean ceiling flush right up to the edge of the trim, so that they almost marry with zero visibility lines. The added benefit now is a wider aperture as we get into Helios 3, so that we can actually have subceiling access. That was one limitation with Helios 2, is the driver itself. With that true trimless install, you just don't quite have the aperture opening, the real estate to get that driver through. So you would need above ceiling access or have a remote mount solution planned. But now with Helios 3, we can do that. Very key. Really with Helios, you choose your trim, right? Obviously you spec out your color temperature, what type of control might be going to it, if there's a certain driver requirement, but that's it. Everything else, your tilt, your directionality, your control is done within that same chassis. That same luminaire is going to give you all that flexibility. You've got fixed and adjustable trims. That all has to do with the depth, or sort of the cone depth of that reflector, right? So if you're doing something that's fixed, you're probably going to want the deepest setting, so it pulls that optic back. For adjustable, it's going to be cut down a little bit so that you've got the ability to move that engine up or down into its different regress positions, or to provide a true tilt angle to that 30 degree or beyond without the cutoff. Round and square, trimless, not. That's it. The wall wash is a pretty unique option that we have in the Helios program. It's also available in Sigma now. First out was with Helios, but it's like a true line, a true uppercut wall washer. So you don't necessarily have a lot of that scaling effect that's going to be perceived with types of circular or elongated apertures that are going to give, or lensing or optics that are going to give that feel. This one is going to, with mirrored optics, bring that light nearly horizontal straight across to truly wash that wall. No hot spots, excellent light reduction, so your viewing angles are perfect. A really, really neat feature to use if there's applications for wall wash. So here we go. This is it. We just touched on Helios 2, but Helios 3 is pretty much the same thing, right? We've got a wider aperture. We've got some higher lumen performance, right? So our performance factor is bumped up, so up to 1800 lumens on it. Helios 2 is maxing out about 1000. And it does, again, give us that true trimless solution, right? So now you've got that subceiling access. So you think of applications, high-end retail, high-end resi, maybe some hospitality, certain areas where this type of solution is going to be key for that environment. Now you've got that added benefit of being able to access from below. And that's such a huge thing. I mean, limitations with trimless to not have access is tough, especially if you can't remote mount something. It means that you got to carve a ceiling out to get at it. Should one change the driver type, should there be a need to replace that or extend across on that circuit, you'd need to have that access. Pretty much every option is available on this when we talk about drivers, getting into options for color tuning, currently with Kasambi. Triac ELV 0 to 10 comes kind of as a standard option for your driver, so you spec that out. It just comes kind of inherently with that option. IC rated with a box, right? And there are some subtext or subnotes on what is compatible. So when you are looking through your Helios 2 and here Helios 3, sorry, somebody's buzzing around on the scooter behind me. If you are looking through your Helios 2 and Helios 3 spec sheets, just be mindful of the subtext when it comes to IC ratings especially, right? Certain drivers might negate the IC rating. Other options would just need to be taken into consideration when you're looking at that. So just keep an eye out for it. Two other things that are sort of worth mentioning here. The one that's highlighted currently is the TM30 Appendix E. For those that are familiar with it, I mean, there's a big conversation that could be had with in regards to that, but the TM30 rating, we've taken the liberty to break it out into our products as we move forward and to give some of those annex notes or directions built right to it, right? So if you look down at the bottom, we've got the Appendix E, P2, no V rating, and F1, right? So for those that understand what that is, it kind of gives you a read on the color consistency of that fixture, right? So we are putting that into our spec sheet information going forward. And the other thing to mention too is the cut size on this fixture. At 3 3/4, it's smaller in diameter than other leading products on the market. Right, so when we think of trimless, we think of reducing aperture sizes and maximizing output. There's going to be few that will compete with this. And then, of course, we'll couple that with all of the mechanical integrations of regression and tilt and directionality and control. Pretty cool product. End of October is when inventory is slated to land, but obviously, I mean, we've got the specification information. It's ready. It will be live today on our website, and you can access it from there. So start working on that, or if there's specification opportunities, we're ready to go. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for the Helios. So a quick review on what it's about and what it can do. And now we've got the H2 and the H3 available, which is a pretty cool thing. So getting into Luna, we've got one pretty big breakthrough with it. It's an addition to the family. And just to recap on Luna, it remains to be sort of our flagship product for those types of applications, budget conscious, but still with the type of client that wants great light output, maybe doesn't need all the options under the sun, but isn't going to be paying hundreds of dollars for a luminaire, right? The Luna pretty much accomplishes everything there. You don't necessarily have all of the selection options with it, meaning you get to choose your profile size, you get to choose your profile shape, color temperature is included for the most part. But if it comes to beam angle, if you're looking at other types of accessories for it, there's not a lot you can do on the optics side. It's a little more limited. Everything comes in one package, driver and light. It's all wet location rated. It's got a number of attributes that are pretty key, but it just doesn't give you as much selection. With those attributes though, one of the biggest, lifetime warranty, right? It's, we're not rivaled in the space to offer that. It's something Liteline takes pride in, and we have it across our Luna program. Energy Star J8 Title 24, very good to know. There are some limitations to it when we get into different performance variables, but you'll see that on the spec sheet. We make sure to call that out if it is. It's part of the quick ship program. This is actually something worth noting. I mean, a lot of the products that we have in our offering on the downlight side are sort of an assembly, made to order, right? These things take some time, up to a week or so, depending on the project size. Luna, it's in a box, out the door. So we do call this out when you look at the spec information as to which products are available on the quick ship program. And I mentioned airtight, EM option is pretty key there as well. And we'll talk about the commercial driver in a second. And CCT5, that's the new little emblem that we use to denote CCT selection on our fixtures. And Luna comes complete with that. Just quickly on the Luna 2, it's a great, I call it like an accent piece or a task lighting solution, above a kitchen sink, maybe entry lighters. More recently, though, it's even become commonly used as a general downlight. When people are looking at the rough 600 lumen performance delivery, and when you think about what a PAR 20 used to do in the day, it's a pretty suitable fixture if you're after space savings. If we're talking about looking at profile sizes, aperture sizes, nothing gets smaller than the Luna 2, right, with that type of performance. Great light quality. Again, it shares all those attributes that were mentioned earlier. 5-position CCT selecting switch, and obviously web location. No directional control on this yet. Maybe a future product coming, but at this point it's just a fixed option. 3.5 and the 4, more of a general use product. You've got some directional control with this. You've got a 30-degree tilt, up to about 40-degree beam, 3.5, 4-inch options on this. Again, shares those same attributes, but you do have some added value here in that you get some higher performance depending on your selection. 5-position CCT select versus we do have some static CCT options in this product, or at least in the 3.5 and the 4-inch. And yeah, let's put it on there. I did have another note that's not on this version, but we do have an 18-degree beam option available with the Luna 4-inch in its designer series offering, I guess. So your RA412RG has an 18-degree beam option that can be spec'd out. And you can find that on spec sheets on our website. It's pretty straightforward. Multiples, for those that may not know, it just mimics the 3.5-inch profile size, carries all the same features, but it's really about that real estate and saving that space. The picture does a great job, I think, of kitchens as well. And you've got multiples that you can package together. You're not peppering the ceiling with as many downlights depending on where you want to push that light. And again, we're keeping it in the Luna space and not necessarily going into something that's more higher end or more made to order, right? So it allows us for a well-priced product with lots of performance feature. Still wet location rated, which is fantastic. You'll notice it above the shower. Trim options, black, white, brushed nickel. I think we do have some others, but I don't know if they're mentioned online. I'll have to check that. Excellent for multi-resi in the condo space for sure, right? Because again, you're maximizing your ceiling real estate by minimizing where the fixtures go. All right, here it is. This is the second main act, I suppose. expanding the Luna 5.6. So for those that may not be familiar, we have Luna ranging from 2-inch basically up to 6-inch. But the 6-inch shares its profile size with the 5-inch, right? So it can accommodate a 5 or 6-inch hole. The big benefit here was you had something to really lend itself into, a replacement type opportunity, but more lending itself to the commercial space. A little higher output, given that ability to fill those existing holes. And now we've just taken it one step further. So like the rest of its family of product in Luna, it has CCT Select, it's by location rated, it carries all of those main attributes, lifetime warranty, et cetera, but now we're exceeding that 2000 lumen sort of threshold. And that's really key when we think of having budget solutions to play into these commercial spaces. Going beyond 39-watt metal halide replacement, 2-lamp 26-watt PLs. We're doing that now with the Luna program. We're not having to go to some true form commercial fixture that immediately, is going to double or triple the price even to get to those levels. It's not like we're trying to replace the light, up to the highest amount that's in there in that profile size. It's just to be able to provide an integrated solution that is going to work within budget is a key thing. No housing required. That's pretty straightforward with the Luna program. Yeah. What is cool though with Luna 56 is you do have some reflector options, and I've got some that I can show after. But when we get into looking at combinations between your whites and your blacks, or getting into specular, semi-specular copper, even, it just gives us a little more flexibility for the space. Again, while maintaining where that product's going to sit within a consumer or a customer's budget. There's a better picture coming, I think. No. The RA56 in square is kind of cool. Beautiful design. The lines are really, really clean. I've got a sample that I'll bring up after, but it is also available as well now, along with the Pro option. Now, when you start looking for the Pro option, when you're on the spec sheet, when you're on the website, it's basically going to just exist as your driver selection. Okay, so if we're looking at getting into those higher lumen values, you jump up into a 33-watt range to achieve that higher 2000 lumen threshold. So just keep that in mind when you're searching for it. It's still part of the Luna 56. You just want to expand across into what you can do from a performance side, and that's your delivered lumens. Accessories, pretty key, pretty straightforward though. The new construction plates, 2 options: just a traditional style smash plate, optional hanger bars to be included with that, an architectural type pre-mounting frame. Flexible connectors are really worthwhile to keep in mind. We can't necessarily extend too far on them, but we can do up to 10 feet, which is 2 5-footers linked, and that's acceptable given most types of layouts. But I mean, if somebody needs to extend further, we'd want to have a conversation and talk about what our volt drop and our control parameters would be. Vapor barriers, by code to those municipalities, you see a retrofit version there, but we offer everything from kind of those traditional type of deep bags that would accommodate fixtures that are a little taller, to now a new one that's more shallow, something for Luna or the slim type product category, just to accommodate the application that's available. Commercial driver coming up in a second. Reduction rings are cool though, when we think of, call it a goof ring, I guess. But if you've got larger holes, even 5 and 6, you can bring that down to a 4-inch Luna if we wanted to build that in or keep that aesthetic more common. Also coming down from 8-inch is a new feature as well. So we can provide those types of accessories for those solutions. The commercial driver, this is really cool. And as if Luna itself wasn't a pretty well-rounded program, the commercial driver just allows it to go one step further. It gives us the ability to take this into varying voltage applications, so 277, 347 up here in Canada. And then you've got the 0 to 10 control, which to this point remains to be sort of the most reliable type of dimming out there. That's, I say, on the consumable side for now, but doesn't affect the power going into the driver, which is a great thing. It only gives it the control up and down, so you've got the best dimming. That's it. I mean, we take the luminaires that everyone's familiar with, the engines, the reflectors, and just couple it with that driver. So if the application calls for a different type of dimming to 0 to 10, or a requirement of a voltage variation, we got it. We can do it. And I'm pretty sure that that covers every Luna in the category now. You do have a limitation when you get into the smaller profiles in that that driver may not necessarily fit through the cut hole. So that's just something to be cautious of if you're thinking like an RA2 or an RA3. Even the 3.5, I'd have to check that one. I'm not totally sure, but for sure the 4-inch you're good. 4 and beyond you're okay. I did forget to mention one thing just before we jump into marketing materials. The RA2 has now posted to the website. We have listed the dimmer compatibility chart, I suppose, so that is available now, just to keep in mind. Marketing available marketing materials, sorry. Accessed through the resources tab on our website, and you can find either your traditional type of PDF layout. I can't remember what the other one's called. Laura would have to help me with that, but you can access both of them for download. All of the order codes are there as well. So if anyone is interested in receiving this as hard copy information, reach out to your RSM, reach out to us, however you can get a hold of us, let us know and we can have these shipped out. But you can find all of this information on the website if you want soft copy. Oh, there's the Luna 2. I thought I'd moved the slide. Sorry, everybody, but we got to it. And 26 minutes, so I went a little further than I promised, but if there are any questions on today's updates of Helios and Luna, please feel free.
Steve, did you want to show some of the product first, and then we'll run through a couple questions?
Sure, let's do that. So I've got two of the Luna 56 here. There we are. So the round version, I mean, that's the way we want to go. From below the ceiling, there's no noticeable difference, right? But when we get into what the heat sinks appear to look like, certainly one is much, much more robust than the other. And that's to accommodate, obviously, a higher wattage loading, as well as the thermals that would come with that. But what I really want to show is the aesthetic of that. Well, this is a little awkward. I want to go that way. There we are. The aesthetic of the front end of the Luna Pro is just fantastic in a square. Just beautiful. And you can couple this white on white, black on black, white and black on each other, as well as a semi-specular. That's what's available on the square. 5-position CCT selection, 27K, 5K. Again, wet location rated, but now with the ability to jump that up to a, actually beyond 2000 lumens, which is a pretty great feature. I've only got a couple of the inner reflectors with me to show. Black and white are pretty common. You saw the white ones, you saw the black, semi-specular here, and then the gold reflector. Gold's always fun. People cringe or they love it, right? It's kind of one or the other, but it's a nice option to have. Of course, we do it in-house, field modifiable, I suppose. I mean, it's 2 screws on the back and it replaces the reflector as an external piece. And the other thing I wanted to put some attention to again is just the inner workings and the mechanical flexibility of Helios. When we talk about the gradient settings, we talk about how flexible this fixture is from below the ceiling. That's all achieved with its design, right? So we've got that 365-degree rotational aspect. We've got regression positions that are set just by simply manipulating the actual engine height. And then of course you can see it, there's your tilt gradient. And I've got a drill here somewhere. Oh, there we go, I'll show that. This is the coolest part. So on site or before, you can set your actual tilt angle. Up, yeah. You can set your tilt angle by adjusting a fine threaded, like elongated metric screw that's attached to a spring. So it allows the engine itself to fall to the side. So I've set that to 15 degrees. And then the question is, well, yeah, it's set to 15 degrees, but now how do I get it through the cut hole? And that's when we go back to the physics of the design, and it's spring loaded. So we push the spring in, gives the engine its vertical feel, up it goes, and it snaps back right into its 15-degree position. Now, when we talk about that true cutoff, going beyond 30, I've set the engine and the tilt angle to its furthest point at 30 degrees. And it'll be tough to see because it's so dark, but your cut angle is going to be right on the edge of the trim, which is great. But if you want to go any further, you've got to use the drift option, which is going to totally alleviate any type of visible cutoff from view. And again, it's pretty tough to just show it through the screen, but the angle that's created is perfectly past the edge for zero cutoff, which is an incredible feature. I mentioned two types of trims, both available, of course, with trimless, but that doesn't necessarily affect the depth of the reflector itself. One is for fixed, and one is for if you're needing to tilt or adjust anything. You need that space above to be able to move the optic around. So if it's fixed, you're going to have your set point of regression right to the top, and if the need for adjustable is there, it's down a little further, so you've got that flexibility. That's all I've got in the boxes here, Laura.